Okay, so we're going to be learning how to solve the warm-up. And the things that you need to know is, the things are, mathematicians agree in this way of showing you when two things are congruent or they are corresponding. So if I have a triangle here, let's make this triangle here. Okay, and I'm gonna take the same triangle, I'm gonna copy and paste, but this time I am going to maybe rotate it like this. Okay, so let's imagine that when I rotated the shape, it didn't change the angles or sizes at all. So the way that we show that two things are corresponding is by doing this. So this angle that I have here is corresponding with this angle that I have in here. And notice that I made it one line because they are corresponding. They have the same value. Now, if I go and I say, well, this one is different than this one, so I'm gonna add two lines and these two lines in here. So that means that these two angles are corresponding and then they have the same value. They're congruent. And we can also add 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so that's the way that we use these lines to show when two angles are congruent and corresponding. So for example, if I say this is gonna be A, B, and C, and let's call these P, Q, R. If I'm gonna say that two things are corresponding, the two things are congruent, I'm gonna use this shape in here, the symbol. Okay, so when you see these, that means that two figures are congruent, okay, that they have the same value. So in here, when you're solving the first part, it says something like, okay, it's a different problem, but I will have A, B, and C. So what is this vertex corresponding to? Would be P. So I would write P in here, and then this Q in here is corresponding with letter B, and then letter C is corresponding with letter R. Okay, that's the way that you would solve this first section of your assignment today. Sorry. Here you go. So name the corresponding points under a transformation. So M is corresponding to which one of these three vertices that we have in here. Now the second part, it says name the congruent sides, congruent angles, and also name the triangle in a different way. So let's go and see how that looks like. Now for sides, we use a different symbol. Now instead of using these lines, I'm gonna say the corresponding sides are corresponding by putting this in here, this line in here. So the segment AB, it is corresponding with the segment PQ, and then this segment in here, AC, it's gonna be corresponding with PR. And then the segment BC, 1, 2, 3, it's going to be corresponding with RQ, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so if we go here, I'm going to do an example. If I say, what is a corresponding segment with BC? So if I give you something like this, BC, it's corresponding to which segment on the second triangle? So I notice that BC has 3 lines in here. I'm looking for the same line on the other triangle. That means that BC is corresponding to RQ. And then if it says corresponding angles, imagine that I say, hey, which angle is corresponding to angle C? So if I look here on my figure, I notice that I have 3 lines, and I try to look for those 3 lines on my other triangle. So that means that angle C is corresponding with angle R. Okay, and that's it. That's how you identify corresponding sides and corresponding angle. Last thing that the problem tells you to do is I'm gonna name these triangle ABC. So triangle A, B, and C. If you look at which one is the letter that we're using for A on the second triangle, that's letter P. That means that this is going to change to letter P. Which letter are we using for B on the second triangle? Q. And which one are we using for C? R. So if I'm talking about the triangles and I'm naming this triangle ABC, I must use the corresponding sides in the same order. So if I'm going to do BCA, then I'm going to do QRP, because those are the corresponding vertices. Okay, and that's it for your warm-up. Hopefully that's clear enough.